Did you know more Christians are killed in Nigeria than in the rest of the world combined? Entire villages are being wiped out, yet the world barely notices.
Today, we're breaking down the silence. We're looking at all the lives lost, the forces that have been leading this violence, and why the global community refuses to act. Welcome to Just with Sherry, where we give commentary that goes where others won't.
Nigeria is Africa's most populous country, with over 220 million people, but it's also the epicenter of a deadly crisis. More Christians are killed than anywhere else in the world combined. Attacks are frequent, brutal, and systematic. We are talking about villages raided at night, families massacred, churches set ablaze.
This is not an isolated incident. This is a pattern spanning through Nigerian states like Benue, Plateau, Kaduna, and beyond. Can you imagine that in 2025, people still get persecuted for their faith? I want that to sink in, because that's what we're talking about here. People being killed because of who they choose to worship, what they choose to believe in, the God that they serve. I can't imagine it, but it's happening. And it's happening right in front of us.
In Plateau State, an attack in Yelwata earlier this year left between 100 and 200 Christians dead. Thousands fled overnight. In Benue, another wave of attacks killed more than 200 people and displaced over 6,000. Across the country, millions of Christians live as internally displaced persons, forced out of their ancestral homes.
Another 50 Christians have been gruesomely murdered in the ongoing genocide in Nigeria. Frank Uto, a Nigerian lawyer and native of Yelwata, joins us now. Frank, these 50 that have been killed recently, you were talking with me before we got started about the manner in which they were killed. It wasn't, a bomb or something. This was a gruesome event. Can you tell me how these 50 people died?
The way they kill our people is in the most horrific, the most gruesome, the most cruel manner anyone could ever think. It will make even the devil to shiver. Because what they do is that when they come around, you run into your hut, into your house. And then what they do is that they will now, cycle the house with fuel. They will lit fire on the house. And then when you are coming out, they will now hack you down with machete. So they're cutting you as if they are cutting a piece of wood. Not as even they are killing a wild animal. You don't even kill a wild animal that way. So they'll bust your brains with machete and you see spillage of brains. I believe you've seen some of these very horrific pictures. They are so graphic. I have hundreds of them in my phone right now. These are my siblings. These are my cousins. These are people I know so well. I know almost 80% of these people. As a matter of fact, some of them, I spoke to some of them a week before that thing happened. And anytime we speak, we talk with dread. We know that we are living on time bomb. We know that these things will come again. So every time I try to give them an advice, to keep their eyes open. But that was what happened. There are two of my aunties who were pregnant. One was pregnant with a twin, with twins. They split open the stomach, they removed the twins, and then slaughtered the twin. So that's what's been happening. And when they are doing this, they begin to recite Allah Akbar, which unfortunately has become an internationally recognized slogan and motto for terrorists. It may have good intention. The words in Arabic says Allah is great or something like that. But unfortunately, it has become the most universally accepted slogan and motto for jihadists. So they'll be slaughtering these people and be chanting Allah Akbar. That's what we've been facing. And unfortunately, the government of our country, the government of our state is doing extremely nothing about this because they will just want to be politically correct.
These are people like you and me. Parents burying their children, fathers wondering how they can protect their families when their government fails. These are the people that is happening to. Unprotected people, human beings.
So what's driving this? Groups like Boko Haram and ISWAP have targeted Christians for years, kidnapping, bombing, and killing. But it's not just terrorism. Armed herder militias are accused of systematically attacking farming communities, many of which are majority Christians. Some frame it as land disputes, but evidence shows a disturbing trend: religious targeting.
When you combine extremist ideologies, a weak government, and poverty, you get a perfect storm of violence. It's no secret that the Nigerian government has failed at many things. It's no secret that they have disappointed their citizens in more than one instance. But I would say that their failure to address and do something about the Christians that get killed on a regular basis in Nigeria is the biggest failure of theirs. And it's a tough competition when you're competing with all their failures, because they fail at a lot of things. But this takes the first position. It's unheard of. It should not be happening.
Nigeria's government has been accused of turning a blind eye. Security forces often arrive hours late or not at all. Reports suggest complicity in some cases, where attacks happen repeatedly with little accountability.
The silence isn't just global, it's also national. Nigerian leaders issue statements that all sound the same. The action on ground is little to nothing. Justice for victims, literally or mostly non-existent. That's what happens. That's what is happening in Nigeria.
Now here's the big question. Why doesn't the world care? When attacks happen in the rest of the world, headlines dominate, but in Nigeria, barely a whisper. Part of the reason: geopolitics. Nigeria is Africa's biggest economy and a key US and European partner. Criticizing too loudly could strain alliances. And then there's the media bias. African crises often get far less coverage unless they directly affect Western interests.
It's a very painful reality whose lives are considered worthy and whose aren't. I would have loved to believe that in 2025, in the world we are in now, that every single life matters, regardless of your faith, regardless of your religion, regardless of who you are, who you love, whatever. Every single life matters. But unfortunately, that's not the case.
This isn't just a Nigerian issue. It's part of a broader crisis of religious freedom worldwide. From the Middle East to Asia, people are persecuted for their faith, but Nigeria stands out as the bloodiest frontline for Christians today.
When millions are forced to choose between faith and survival, humanity is at stake. I understand how you watching this right now might be like, well, this doesn't affect me. This is happening somewhere in Nigeria. Why do I need to be bothered? Because it takes people like us to speak up on things like that, for something to be done about. We have the power through our words, through the things we choose to say, when we choose to say them, how we choose to say them. We have the power to actually change situations and change narratives. And I think it's very important that we use it for that. Because at the end of the day, an injustice done to one person is an injustice done to everybody, guys. Everybody. And there's enough injustice going on in the world. This is a big part of it that doesn't get spoken about, doesn't get coverage in the media. So it's left to us to talk about it.
And yet, Amid the violence, there is resilience. Churches rebuilding from ashes, communities standing together. Survivors continue to worship under trees, in tents, sometimes even in secret.
The attackers want to erase faith, but what they have met is resilience and unshakable hope. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Should Nigeria be left to fight this battle alone, or should the global community intervene? What do you think? Go to the comment sections. Tell me what you think. I want to hear from you. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories that the world truly needs to know.